Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb. Are you excited for Christopher Nolan's upcoming blockbuster? After the successful release of movie Tenet, Christopher Nolan's next movie, named Oppenheimer, would be set for release soon. But what would the Oppenheimer be about? Well, it tells the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer. But who was J. Robert Oppenheimer? In today's video, we will be telling you all about J. Robert Oppenheimer, aka father of the atomic bomb. But before we begin, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Now, without any further delay, let us get straight to the topic. Who was Oppenheimer? Known as the father of the atomic bomb, Oppenheimer was an American theoretical physicist and professor of physics at the University of California, Berkeley. He is best known for his role as the scientific director of the Manhattan Project, the top-secret World War II research project that developed the first nuclear weapons. During World War II, J. Robert Oppenheimer commanded a team of scientists tasked with developing a weapon that could change the direction of the war. What they developed forever changed the world and continues to affect the geopolitical environment in the 21st century. Early life. Oppenheimer, a natural scientist, was born on April 22, 1904, in New York City, to German Jewish immigrants. An early interest in minerals prompted him to contact the New York Mineralogical Club, who were so taken with his writings that they invited him to give a talk, despite the fact that he was only 12 years old at the time. In 1922, he joined Harvard University to study chemistry. Despite graduating first in his class 3 years later, Oppenheimer's interest in physics led him along a different scientific route. He subsequently traveled to Cambridge, England, to continue his doctorate studies in physics. Oppenheimer began his atomic studies at Cavendish Laboratory, where he worked under Nobel Prize winner J.J. Thomson, the scientist who discovered the electron. A year later, Oppenheimer was in Germany, studying at the University of Göttingen. During his time in Germany, he contributed numerous publications to the newly created quantum theory. The Born-Oppenheimer approximation for molecular wave functions was a significant contribution to quantum molecular theory that earned widespread recognition in the scientific community. By 1927, Oppenheimer had acquired his doctorate and had accepted professorships at both the University of California, Berkeley and the California Institute of Technology. He spent the next 13 years traveling between the two schools, undertaking major research in a variety of scientific subjects, such as nuclear physics, quantum field theory, and astrophysics. In 1939, Oppenheimer and another of his students, Hartland Snyder, published a paper predicting the existence of black holes. This study, along with the Born-Oppenheimer approximation, is still one of his most cited. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize 3 times, but never received it. In the 1930s, Oppenheimer began to awaken politically, realizing that Hitler's Nazi Germany may very easily build the world's first nuclear weapon. When war broke out in Europe in September 1939, America watched anxiously. Oppenheimer gladly joined his country's early efforts to construct a nuclear weapon. Marriage. Oppenheimer married Catherine Puning, a radical Berkeley student and former Communist Party member, in 1940. Their first child, Peter, was born in 1941, and their second, Catherine, was born 3 years later. The Manhattan Project. In 1942, General Leslie Groves persuaded Oppenheimer to become the scientific director of the Manhattan Project, that was the top-secret United States project to build the atomic bomb. The brightest physicists from America and Europe were recruited to Los Alamos and tasked with building a bomb unlike any other the world had ever seen. as American taxpayer money poured into the project, Oppenheimer's crew of a few hundred quickly swelled to several thousand, all under his control. Despite having no experience leading a project of this scale, Oppenheimer soon mastered the ropes, repaying General Groves's trust. Oppenheimer and his team were ready to evaluate their atomic weapon only 3 years after the project began. On July 16, 1945, the Trinity test was conducted in Alamogordo, New Mexico, where an apprehensive Oppenheimer watched from a control bunker as the world's first nuclear explosion occurred. Oppenheimer exhaled a great sigh of relief after the dazzling flash of light. His team had done it. His first words, according to reports, were, "I guess it worked." He later famously recalled that the historic event had reminded him of words from a revered Hindu text. "We knew the world would not be the same. A few people laughed, a few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, 'Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.' I suppose we all thought that one way or another." Less than a month later, the Americans dropped 2 atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, ending World War II. Oppenheimer was upset that the bomb was deployed twice, believing the second blast was unnecessary. A few days later, he arranged a meeting with President Truman, where he conveyed his revulsion at Nagasaki, telling the president that he thought there was blood on his hands. Oppenheimer's moralistic stance irritated the president, who famously told his aides after the meeting, "I never want to see that son of a bitch in this office again." Oppenheimer became a household name after the war, appearing on the covers of Life and Time magazines. In 1947, he was appointed chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission's General Advisory Committee. Oppenheimer was opposed to the creation of a more powerful hydrogen bomb, putting him squarely in the crosshairs of those seeking to take a tough stance against the mounting Soviet menace. It did not take long for his adversaries to get their way. Oppenheimer was ousted from his position at the AEC in 1954 and stripped of all security clearances, effectively losing his political power at the same time. The move stunned the scientific world, and it took a decade to make amends. President John F. Kennedy presented Oppenheimer with the Enrico Fermi Award in 1963, but President Lyndon B. Johnson handed it to him after JFK's assassination. The medal was not only an apology, but also a sign of political rehabilitation for the famous scientist. Oppenheimer continued to lobby for worldwide control of nuclear weapons and atomic energy in his final years. He died of throat cancer on February 18, 1967, in Princeton, New Jersey, just a year after retiring. Despite the controversy, Oppenheimer continued to make important contributions to science and was awarded many accolades throughout his career. He died in 1967 at the age of 62. Today, Oppenheimer's legacy as the father of the atomic bomb lives on, and he is remembered as one of the most brilliant and influential scientists of the 20th century. Do you think he was a great scientist, or do you believe he was really a criminal? Let us know in the comments section. Thank you for watching this video about J. Robert Oppenheimer. If you find it interesting, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more educational content.